In the twinkling of an eye, the world changed. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was not merely the spark, it was the herald of a catastrophic conflagration that would engulf nations and reshape the global order. World War I, or the Great War, was not an accident of fate but a climax of mounting tensions and entangled alliances. This essay delves into the multifaceted causes that led to one of the most devastating wars in human history and examines its profound consequences. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was like a match struck in a munitions factory. On June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne was killed by a Serbian nationalist, setting off a series of reactions from the great powers of Europe. This event did not occur in isolation, it was the culmination of years of rising tensions. The immediate aftermath saw a cascade of diplomatic maneuvers and military mobilizations, as nations bound by alliances prepared for the possibility of a wider conflict. The assassination is often seen as the definitive cause of World War I, but it was merely the final push in a world primed for war. The true causes run much deeper and are intertwined with the complex fabric of early 20th century geopolitics. Before the first shot was fired, Europe was a web of alliances. The Triple Entente, comprising France, Russia, and the United Kingdom, was pitted against the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. These alliances were defensive in nature but paradoxically made war more likely. The alliances meant that any conflict between two countries could quickly escalate. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, a chain reaction was set off. Russia mobilized in defense of Serbia, Germany in support of Austria-Hungary, and so on until all major powers were drawn into the conflict. These alliances did not just bind countries to each other, they also set the stage for a conflict on a scale previously unimaginable. The intricate ties of diplomacy and mutual defense would transform a regional dispute into a global war. The decades leading up to World War I saw a fierce competition for overseas colonies. European powers were engaged in a frantic dash to carve up Africa and Asia, seeking resources, labor, and markets for their industrial products. This imperial rivalry was not limited to the economic sphere. It also had a significant military component. Conflicts such as the Moroccan crises and the Balkan Wars were directly fueled by imperial ambitions, setting the stage for larger conflicts. The race for empire set the great powers on a collision course. The tensions it created were not limited to the colonies but were brought back to Europe, adding another layer of complexity to the already volatile international relations. Nationalism was a potent force in pre-war Europe, particularly in the Balkans, where Slavic groups sought independence from Austro-Hungarian rule. This nationalism was not only about forming independent nations, but also about unifying ethnically similar populations under one government. The rise of nationalist sentiments threatened the stability of multi-ethnic empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. It also fueled aggressive policies, as nations sought to assert their dominance or resist subjugation. The intertwining of nationalist fervor with imperial ambitions made the Balkans a tinderbox ready to ignite, with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand serving as the spark. In the years leading up to World War I, Europe witnessed a massive military buildup. Nations invested heavily in new technology, leading to the introduction of tanks, airplanes, and improved artillery. This arms race was driven by the fear of falling behind potential adversaries. In Germany, the Schlieffen Plan, which called for a quick victory in France before turning to Russia, was predicated on having superior military technology and logistics. The proliferation of advanced weaponry did not just make war more likely, it also increased its potential destructiveness, setting the stage for the unprecedented carnage of the Great War. World War I is infamous for its brutal trench warfare, where soldiers faced horrific conditions and little territorial gain for massive casualties. The battles of the Somme and Verdun exemplify the deadly stalemates that characterized much of the war. Chemical weapons, like mustard gas, were introduced, adding a new layer of horror to the battlefield. The use of these weapons had long-lasting physical and psychological effects on those who survived. The war was not confined to the trenches of Western Europe. It also saw major battles in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and even Africa, making it a truly global conflict. Initially confined to Europe, the war quickly spread, drawing in countries from around the world. In 1917, the United States entered the war, tipping the balance of power towards the Allies. Japan, seizing the opportunity to expand its influence in Asia, declared war on Germany. Colonial troops from across the British and French empires were also mobilized, fighting in foreign lands for the empires that ruled them. This global involvement turned a European conflict into a world war, with ramifications that extended far beyond the immediate military outcomes. The war had a profound impact on the economies of participating nations. While industries related to war production boomed, others suffered from labor shortages and resource reallocations. Countries like Britain incurred massive debts, while France emerged as a creditor nation, boosting its economic stature on the global stage. The war also led to significant changes in economic policies, including increased government control over industries and the introduction of wartime economies. The war catalyzed significant social changes, particularly for women who entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers to replace men called up to fight. This shift had lasting effects on gender roles and was a step towards greater gender equality. The immense loss of life and the economic strain led to widespread social unrest, culminating in revolutions and significant political changes in countries like Russia, where the Bolsheviks seized power, leading to the establishment of a communist government. World War I accelerated technological innovation, particularly in warfare. The development of tanks, improved artillery, and aircraft changed how wars were fought. The war also spurred advances in medicine, as doctors were forced to find new ways to treat the horrific injuries caused by modern weaponry. These technological advancements, while initially developed for war, would later find peacetime applications, profoundly affecting civilian life and future conflicts. The end of World War I was marked by a series of treaties, most notably the Treaty of Versailles. While these treaties officially ended the conflict, they imposed harsh penalties on the defeated Central Powers, particularly Germany. These punitive measures were intended to prevent future conflicts but instead sowed the seeds for new ones. The harsh terms and economic hardships contributed directly to the rise of extremism in Germany, paving the way for World War II. The war had a lasting impact on the cultural landscape. The brutality and senselessness of the conflict led to a sense of disillusionment, particularly among the lost generation of writers and artists who expressed their cynicism through modernist literature and art. War poets like Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon wrote poignantly about the horrors they witnessed, changing public perceptions about the nature of war and heroism. This cultural shift was a profound legacy of the war, influencing decades of art and literature. World War I is commemorated through numerous memorials and ceremonies, reflecting its deep impact on national consciousness. These acts of remembrance not only honor those who lost their lives, but also serve as a reminder of the devastating consequences of war. The war significantly altered national borders and identities, with the dissolution of empires and the creation of new nations. Its legacy is evident in the political, social, and cultural fabric of many countries, influencing international relations to this day. World War I was more than a historical event, it was a warning. The echoes of the Great War still resonate in the modern world, reminding us of the perils of unchecked nationalism, imperialism, and militarism. As we reflect on the lessons of the past, it is crucial to remember the costs of war and the importance of diplomacy in resolving conflicts. The Great War, with all its devastation, offers timeless lessons on the fragility of peace and the human cost of global conflict.